So Trump, Chevron wants to do business in Venezuela. Chevron. They moved recently their headquarters from California to Texas. So it's like Trump is uniting the Rockefeller back into a monopoly again between Chevron, Texaco, and Exxon. Because Trump has always been in the pockets of the fossil fuel interests. That's how he launders money out through the cryptos in the treasury through petrol deals with fucking NFT cards of himself. So now he's using an excuse of crime to spread fascism throughout America, to subvert African rights. You know, Trump, as chief of commander, wanted to recognize he wanted to recognize Nazis marching around General Lee, saying he would defend the Confederate monuments inside the Pentagon as far as the Confederate name bases. He waged a war on DEI. He doesn't want to recognize the abolition of African slavery inside the Pentagon. He doesn't want to recognize African holidays inside the Pentagon. Martin Luther King holiday. He wants to send the army throughout America to ethnically cleanse mass deportations of browns in order to make America white again. In his likeness and his base likeness. To make America bigger and whiter than ever before because they believe in the great Nazi replacement theory. Elon Musk and him believes in ethnically cleansing mass deportations of browns out of this country. And Trump, as chief and commander, wants to insensitively stick up for the Confederacy inside the Pentagon after Nazis march around General Lee. He wants to wage a war on the civil rights of Africans by not recognizing inside the Pentagon, as chief of commander, the abolitionary of slavery. Because in this country we have a recognition day inside the Pentagon to recognize the Civil War and why we fought and died as Unionist soldiers for the Union and to liberate slavery, to abolish it, to get rid of it. So as chief of commander, he better defend the Confederacy of Nazis inside the Pentagon with the Confederate name bases rather than recognize the abolitionary Remembrance Day of abolition of slavery in this country. As chief of commander, he wants to spread fascism and say now is the war on DEI, making it harder for Africans to move up in society if they don't warrant or merit the white elitist class. It's a perversion in this country when the chief of commander rather sticks up for Nazis and their monuments and believes in their great replacement theory versus recognizing Martin Luther King's holiday inside the Pentagon. He said about January 6th that he had bigger crowds than Martin Luther King and that his speech was better than Martin Luther King, while they wanted to hang his vice president. Does he want to run for a third term, a fourth term? And maybe hang J.D. Vance if things don't work out his way with his fascism? He pledged allegiance to his supporters that were locked up in prison. The same Nazis, the same Ku Klux Klans, the same white base that believes in the great replacement theory of Charlottesville. The same people that elected him with Elon supercomputers flooding pro-Trump bots videos to brainwash people into voting for Trump for a second term. While he doges it out, him and Lucknick with cryptos of NFT cards with petrol Bitcoin dollars stabilized through World Liberty cryptos, making his real estate bigger and better than ever before by peddling old deals to the petrodollar. He wanted to take over Canada and Greenland just to control pipelines of oil and gas running into Europe. He wants to take over Canada and Greenland because of that. Like a Rockefeller's father con artist, a venomous snake. He's reuniting the monopoly of Rockefeller because it's making his real estate so big. Something is wrong in this country when we allow a leader, fascism, that has a disorder of his own mirror on the wall vanity, that everything has to be in his likeness. The Bill of Rights have to be in his likeness. The Constitution has to be in his likeness. He wants to run for a third and a fourth term. He wants to employ the military through the swing states just to steal the midterms as they gerrymander African and Latinos neighborhoods throughout the whole country. To keep him in power. There's something seriously wrong when the President of the United States rather defends Nazis and their monumental rights inside the Pentagon, but not the abolition of slavery and the suppression of his fascism on brown ethnic cleansing of this nation, subversion of black civil rights, sticking up for Nazis' monumental belief in the Great Replacement theory. Fascism is here under the trumpery of his banner. Now he wants to wage war on Venezuela for the love of petros. For the love of petros. That's the same reason they bombarded Libya. For the love of petros. Because America wants to keep the whole world pegged to the world reserve currency as petrodollars. Trump is willing to tariff the whole world 100% if they dare enslave themselves from the greenback. He will tariff the world 100%. If we dare enslave ourselves, meaning every nation on earth and every population on earth, if we dare question America's currency, he will tariff us into starvation. Just as well as him and Lucknick can get rich off NFT cards, insider trading, and Fox News and enrich themselves, they want to extort the whole world with tariffs and talk the markets, the New York Stock Exchange, up with cryptos. Just for him to plaster his Trump name on buildings that he don't even own. But he's getting rich off of royalties, like he's some type of king of the Republic of the United States. All of a sudden, his name is spreading like wildfire on buildings throughout the Middle East. Because he's under the whims of the Arabian nations, while he's willing and dealing like a venomous snake for petrodollars. With quid pro quos, they making him rich in real estate. He launders $10 million from the Egyptian president and then called it a tax embezzlement. He said that those $10 million came out of his own pocket to support his own campaign and it should be reimbursed to him. But in actuality, it was $10 million that he laundered weapons to Egypt and he pocketed $10 million for his own pockets. You know, Senator Menendez is in prison because of 2 gold bars that he took from Egypt. But Trump, he can crypto out the treasury for the Trump Wealth Organization of his private properties and rob the purse strings out of Congress and snip the purse strings just for him to crypto it out through treasury. Pump and dump into his real estate as he money launders these fossil fuel interests. And then he has the balls to say, Doge, government fraud. We're fighting government fraud. He wants to dollarize the whole of South America like we're monkeys picking bananas for these white people to consume. As they treat us like varmints in the United States, in the farmlands. As modern day serfdoms of exploited laborers for decades and decades, the browns of the Americas of the United States. They sweat and bled from sunrise to sunset in those farmlands for the white man's societies. These undocumented workers build the suburban white picket fence neighborhoods for these Ivy Leagues to work in high-rise buildings, while the same people that he's calling varmints, rapists, lowlives, while they maids wait on them hand and foot, housekeepers, babysitters, while these people worked in Trump Towers as maids, as housekeepers, undocumented, like serfdoms. They use these browns as convenient laborers. They exploit them like peasants. And now they subjugate them with fascism and make it seem like they're criminals. He wants to deport these laborers throughout third world prisons, throughout the world, to be held in perpetual captivity, while their only crimes was to be exploited as serfdoms and peasants for the white man's societies, to prop up the middle class, to build their neighborhoods, to pick their fruits at the farmlands, to process their foods in food manufacturing processing plants, to mow their grasses, to build their houses, to babysit their kids, to be housekeepers, while these white peoples lived white-collar careers. The true exploitatism is of white elitism in this nation. And when one pig like Trump hides behind Confederate great replacements, that he rather defend the Confederacy inside the Pentagon, do not recognize the abolition of slavery as chief of commander in the 21st century, but he rather recognize white fascism. Using the excuse of fighting crime to deploy the military in order to save his own ass from stepping down from power. To gerrymander and subvert the blacks and the Latinos and the Arabs and the Asians, people that don't look white in this nation. Because somehow we're criminals, we're lowlives. And the only thing that reigns wild in this nation under the Republicans is Trump vanity disorder of mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. His disorder of vanity is running amok on the nation. Are we to be enslaved for this man's greed? Are we to be enslaved for his ordered deals? Is the world to be enslaved to the greenback underneath that pyramid? When Trump Cryptos is the all-seeing eye of this Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme of him and Lucknick Cryptos, while he snips Congress purse strings and take a totalitarian throughout the world for his ordered deals to extort every nation for tribute in order for them to pay quid pro quos through his cryptos. Does the whole world deserve to be enslaved under one man's greed? I will tariff the whole world 100% if you dare unenslave yourself from the American currency. That's what he said. He will tariff the whole world 100% if they dare liberate themselves from enslavement of being colonies for the American greenback. He wants all nations to remain economical pegged to the greenback as colonies, as America controls the world order with fascism of Trumpery. He doesn't want to let every nation on earth sit as permanent members of the United Nations Security Council because America wants to control the world-based rules by itself as it sees fit. with fascism and rebuke every nation from sitting down as equal members of the League of Nations, of the United Nations, of the laws of the open seas. He doesn't want to recognize no one but himself on that grand stage. There's something seriously wrong when one nation thinks that they can enslave the whole world with impunity, a one man's vanity disorder.